Yeah.
And there's a single card in Yulsik's deck that stops it next turn.
And even then, by that time, Steady Shot is going to have been enough to where Yulsik is just not going to have the damage to return.
And Immortal Strike gets drawn. That's
yeah,
checkmate.
That is checkmate. Well,
Swashbuckler into Shield Slam, into a second
Shield
Swashbuckler,
block.
into Shield Block, into, forget all of it. 2-0 Pavel.
I give up.
This is complete opposite of the last match that you and I cast, TJ. The last one we cast was almost 3 hours. These first 2 games have lasted about 10 minutes.
And Pavel's on the aggression train. He's feeling it right now. He is feeling it. He's playing quick. He's in his element. He's a player that loves to play quick because he likes to just rely on that instinct. He knows that he's put in the work over the past couple of years in Hearthstone. He's a grinder. Keep in mind how he qualified for the World Championship last year was through last call, which means he was one of the top 8 point earners in his entire region.
I like that you mentioned Pavel's quick play and instinct, because we asked him about that. He said he doesn't want his opponent to have as much time to think.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm confident in what I'm doing. I know what I'm going to play. That's a really interesting thing to think about. We hear players all the time talk about how they slow down so they can think through everything. Pavel's speeding that up so that you have less time to think.
If you know that your instincts, or if you feel like your instincts are better than your opponents, then cutting down the amount of time that they have can be beneficial.
I'm curious about it. I mean, we've seen Pavel, have some questionable moments at times as well. Is that a result of his quick play?
It definitely could be. A lot of times you have to slow down a little bit. That was one of Tare's. When we talked to him, he said one of his biggest weaknesses was playing too quickly. And we even saw it in his match. He had something in his mind with the coin in his Pirate Warrior match, and it didn't work out. We've yet to see too much go wrong for him
You asked for it.
in the Winter Championship here, but it's definitely something to keep in the back of your mind. And now we're going to move into game number 3. Can Pavel continue this? That's going to be the question. If he could go 4-0 in the series, that would really make a statement.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have a regame here. Pavel, I think he chose the wrong deck to start with. We got word that he would be on Warlock for this game. And we'll see what's going on in just a moment. So we'll get into this game as quickly as we can. We'd gotten word that Pavel was going to be on Warlock for this game. So just a moment till these guys jump in. Apologize for the small technical delay here.
Yeah, there's going to be restarting the game, but just a little bit of an error there. I mean, going back to it, how disappointing would it be for Yulsik to come all this way and get knocked out in the first round?
Well, any player that's going to experience that, it's not what you expect coming into it, but that's the nature of competition. At this point, you're facing off against 15 of the other best players from the season. The competition's going to be tough. The edge is going to be close. Even if you do have a favorable edge, it's often very little. The smallest details can turn that around. We've seen so many players a couple points of damage off lethal over the course of 15, 20 turn games. Something had to have gone wrong in that spot. If you're 2 damage off lethal, almost certainly that could have been picked up somewhere along the way. How much would that have changed the rest of the game, though? Maybe you don't make one trade and things turn around.
Another interesting tidbit in the World Championship last year, Yulsik qualified for it with a second-place finish.
That's right.
The only player to do so is because Handsome Guy, the player that finished above him in the Summer Championship for Asia Pacific, had already qualified for the World Championship through his win in the previous season. So maybe that shakes your confidence a bit. Maybe you start to second-guess yourself. Should I be with these guys?
I don't think so. I mean, this is Yulsik's back around after making it to World Championships. I think he played really well at the World Championships. His group was definitely tough. And here, I like the way that Yulsik's played a lot of his games. It's just to me, a little bit of it is the stealth rogue choice. We've seen that deck look a little bit shaky almost every single time. But now it's Freeze Mage versus Warlock in this game. And Freeze Mage is considered one of the hardest decks out there to play because there's so many factors to take into consideration each time you draw a card. It completely changes the dynamic of your hand. In this particular matchup, Yulsik's main goal is to just draw as many cards as he can, assemble damage from hand as quickly as possible, discount them with Emperor Thaurissan, and look to kill Pavel in a single turn. That doesn't always work that way because Pavel will occasionally have pressure. And if you look at his hand, he's got Mountain Giant and he's got Twilight Drake. Those are the two big heavy hitters in a Reno Warlock deck. Those require attention from Yulsik and oftentimes limits the amount of burn he has in his hand. As a result, he'll have to use that to not die.
One of the techs that Pavel also has in his Reno Warlock deck is Spellbreaker. Now it's an interesting one. It can do a couple of things. One, it can protect his board if it gets frozen and a Doomsayer comes out. Two, if one of these big minions gets frozen because Yulsik is trying to prevent damage, he can Spellbreaker's own minion, say a Mountain Giant, to push 8 damage. So there's a lot of things that can happen. It can also use Power Overwhelming, just as 4 damage, because then he can silence his minion back down, getting rid of the effect where it dies at the end of its turn. It's definitely interesting, and it could see play here. He could sort of do both.
Yeah, he will be using this Spellbreaker one way or the other. It's definitely top-notch priority for him to get not only get presence on board, but to also make sure that his minions aren't dying with 0 value. Here, the Mountain Giant has gotten some value. It pulled a Frostbolt from Yulsik, and the reason he used Frostbolt is because in the event he sees something just like this, he can Fireball it on the following turn. Not just instantly lose the game.
Wait, no, my computer! Oh, wait,
This gets taken care of, and then he doesn't have the damage to follow up. So heads-up play from Yulsik here, but Pavel having that Spellbreaker keeps Yulsik under a lot of pressure. That's now 2 big burn spells used.
Yeah. Now, a lot of times nowadays, Fireball is not quite as flexible of a card as you'd like, especially in the one-turn kill combination. So Fireball is oftentimes used as removal, and that's okay. You got 2 more of them with Forgotten Torches, putting Roaring Torches in the deck. You don't need Fireballs if you get enough cards reduced to go for that kill. But it's just a little bit of extra damage, a little bit of something that Yulsik has to keep in mind as he plans out his damage in the future.
Yulsik not looking at much when it's his own turn. But as soon as he... Oh, there you go. Oh, hang on a second. Maybe yes. He's really considering trading over this Loot Hoarder, and that would help protect his Emperor. This is a really interesting play here from Pavel. Yulsik now, the only way he's going to kill this Emperor Thaurissan is by using 2 cards. Can he afford to give away 2 Emperor activations?
That's a tough call to make. I mean, is it about the Emperor activations, or is it about giving up that damage?
He also doesn't want to put the Roaring Torches in his deck right away. Those are cards he'd ideally like to draw after he's assembled enough to really justify it. Emperor Thaurissan, a very big one that comes to mind. Alex Straza, great in this matchup to follow up against Reno, but this is looking like he's fighting a different game right now. Pavel has drawn his big threats.
Time runs out on me.
And now there's just straight up no way that he can kill it. So it's coming down to what does Yulsik want to do? Does he want to take some damage this turn and develop an ice block? Does he want to use Acolyte of Pain and maybe ping it, which would risk him overdrawing one of the crucial cards in his deck? He's going to go with Doomsayer. And that's the second one.
I'm curious how Pavel's going to respond to this, because he could just simply Siphon Soul and try to keep Yulsik in a tough spot. When Emperor doesn't die, it usually means your opponent can't kill it the following turn either.
He's going to keep up the pressure. I like the way Pavel's playing this.
That hand is sick. And now that the second Doomsayer is gone, Pavel can play Sylvanas from his hand. Oftentimes, Sylvanas in this matchup doesn't get played.
Why did I move here?
It risks your opponent playing their own Doomsayer, killing your Sylvanas to ensure the Doomsayer steal to make sure it goes off at the start of your turn. It gives your opponent a free way to wipe your own board in a situation like that. Now that Pavel's seen both Doomsayers, he's got that extra 5/5 unlocked.
And usually it is just that, 5/5.
Yeah.
A lot of times you just play it for pressure. And with the way Pavel's been playing this matchup, pressure is exactly how he wants to keep this match going. And keeping Emperor alive, yeah, it's a 5-5 itself, but the pressure is Pavel can play, starting to get to the point where he can play this whole hand. It's finally removed. But at what cost,
Runs out
Admirable?
on me.
A lot. That was a lot of cost. Pavel's hand has been discounted.
I guess it was the weather. Or the... I don't know, that thing. That magic. You see it in the movies. I wanted to retire from what I was doing, you know? From that line of work. Be a good guy for once. A family man. So, I bought a big house. Came here, put my feet up, and thought I'd be a dad like all the other dads. My kids would be like the kids on TV. We'd play ball and sit in the sun, but, well, you know how it is.
Twice for 7 of the cards in his hand.
Now he's going to get brand value. You can brand Dark Peddler, pick up a couple 1-drops, maybe some additional burn.
Takes the Finley.
And he can Twilight Drake.
Honestly, the Finley in this matchup can play a pretty exceptional role at times. Once Pavel feels comfortable with the amount of resources he has, he's going to use Finley to look for a defensive hero power should it come to that.
If he can get armor up, not only would that be really cool,
Look at his
but
board.
it'd also be really... Oh my goodness! The old stick's got ways to stop this damage for a few turns. He's got both Blizzards already. But it's about more than just stalling. He's got to find a way to win.
He's got to worry about dying this turn. That is heaps of damage.
16 damage on board, which would mean Leroy Jenkins plus Faceless, Leroy Jenkins plus Power Overwhelming would both be enough.
No Soulfire in Pavel's deck, but he did just see 2 Dark Peddlers. Or rather, 2 Dark Peddler activations. So Yolsik going to get this Acolyte down, hope that it sticks to the board, and hoping for his sake that he can find some more card draw and some more freeze effects to get this stuff down. But his hand is lacking in burn. He's unable to handle the minions that Pavel's going to be throwing at him. He's nowhere near a point where a big Alex Straza turn can change the face of the game. Pavel's got complete control because of his early threats.
Sunfury Protector is the pickup from the life tap. Doesn't mean too much in this case. Development here is probably going to be a little bit light. You can Shadow Bolt and play Sylvanas just to get that extra 5/5 on the board. Deny. Multiple draws from Acolyte of Pain. He would give it 1, but he doesn't really have a choice otherwise.
He's cooking up something.
He is. When Pavel takes a long time in his turn.
It's because he's got 10 cards in his hand. And they don't cost what they normally cost.
Yeah. I was going to say you should be scared, but...
Interesting that he chooses to use the Refreshment Vendor in this spot.
Trying to keep himself healthy, I suppose.
Well, it's his only way to heal in hand. And so if he runs into Alex Straza this turn, how much damage does he actually have to follow up? 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, he has 23 damage to follow up after that, but that's nowhere near lethal at this point. If Yolsik happened to have Alex Straza here, it's likely he would just risk it. Then Pavel would have no heal. If Alex Straza came out first, that means he could go back from 15 to 23.
He would actually have 29 damage because he could Leroy Jenkins Power Overwhelming and then Abyssal Enforcer with Bran on board, which would deal 6.
That's right. I forgot about that. And Reno Jackson gets... I guess if you know Reno's going to be your next draw, That's a great time to heal.
Sure.
He does have to deal with this Emperor, though. And I'm curious how he's going to deal with it.
Now that he's found Reno, Sir Finley all of a sudden becomes a prime choice on this menu of cards.
Is he really considering playing this Finley right now?
Yes.
Wow.
All right, let's
I'm
see
a bit
his
surprised by
options.
that.
Lesser heal, steady shot, dagger mastery.
There's a brand in play. He's going to get 2 Finley activations, so this first one doesn't even matter.
I don't think, does he even realize it? There's armor up. He can just take back life tap. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, all right, I'll take it.
Oh, life tap's pretty good. You picked take up.
He's
armor up, sorry.
Yeah, he's just going to simply use Savannah's Shadow Flame and then armor up. And this is going to be a stage of the game that I don't think I've ever seen before in a Reno Warlock versus Freeze Mage matchup. Pavel now has 2 extra life, extending above 30. Where on earth does Yulsik find lethal damage through this?
This game is becoming less and less winnable for Yulsik every single turn that passes. In his mind, he has to find Alex Straza, and he has to hope that there's no Reno. Because he's running out of time.
And he doesn't have any card draw left.
Not in his hand, at least.
And he's got about 1.5 turns to get this done. This isn't going to happen. I think Pavel once again has Yulsik in checkmate.
What to do?
Ice Barrier just going to stall a little bit more time. But that thing's going to get chewed up real quick.
Gain 8 health is not the card Yulsik needs right now.
Ice Barrier, Ping Face. Wow.
I think Yulsik's got a plan in mind where he draws Arcane Intellect, picks up more burn spells, is able to live through the damage that Pavel's throwing his way, and maybe, just maybe, draws enough burn spells to finish off Pavel. This game plan right now is ignoring Reno Jackson. The fact that Pavel's got Reno Jackson, Yulsik's the only one who doesn't know that it's impossible for him to win.
It seems grim, but at this point...
Well, it's not impossible. I won't say impossible, but it's... You're looking at like 1,000,000 to 1.
Pavel's looking at lethal damage next turn. Evolved Kobold's picked up, but even the maximum amount of damage that he can deal is 21?
I think it's now officially impossible.
Gonna revise that 1,000,000 to 1 statement.
So you're saying there's a chance.
What to do? What to do?
Pavel might get too caught up staring down Yulsik. He might miss a turn. I mean, he has to develop Ice Block. That's a must. Or Blizzard.
Or both.
Or both. But at this point, there's still 3 reduced cards in the hand of Pavel. You got to be a little bit scared.
Wow. Thanks, Finley.
He did some work.
See, that's true Warlock fashion right there. Just sacrifice your own guys and draw cards.
Kazakus, if this picks up armor, then Pavel just furthers that.
Wow, point of debate here for Pavel. He doesn't, not sure if he should take a 10 or not. I think it's 5. More armor.
Sure.
And he played Doomsayer this game. I think it's pretty unlikely he takes the Friendly Resurrect at this point. That might be one of the only ways he can actually lose the game is resurrecting his
And even then, it'd still be hard. He's also
Rio's not just a company, it's a way of life. Here you're not just seen as anybody, you're somebody. Somebody special.
The opportunity cost knows there's no way he's dying this turn. So just invest in. He's got Yolsik on a clock. He's identified what that is.
At Creo, we have your well-being, and that includes body and mind.
You got to do that twice.
What to do? What to do?
I mean, what burn
He's
does he
trying to
have left?
The thing about it is Yolsik's trying to find a collection of cards where he uses some of his burn, gets Pavel to like a weird life total that's maybe he's not tempted to play Reno Jackson on, and then follow up with the Evolved Kobold the rest of the burn, and just have that small window of opportunity. I think Pavel's too smart to fall for that.
Yeah, a ping on the 4-1. I mean, he's not even chipping away the armor. At this stage, he may just be thinking about what comes next. Thinking about the task ahead.
Not a ton to think about in that spot. Pavel's going to have one deck left, and you got to beat it 4 times.
4 times. He's trying to remember all the cards that are in his last deck.
Now, Omega Zero, he brought a 3-0 deficit back to Game 7.
Still fell.
And I believe he could have closed Game 7 if he would have ordered his threats differently.
Oh, we know it. But Pavel even knows it. Because he was the one.
His opponent, hailing from Canada, please welcome Doc Pone. It's go time!
Creo's not just a company, it's a way of life. Here you're not just seen as anybody, you're somebody. Somebody special. At Creo, we have your well-being, and that includes body and mind. I know. You've heard me say it again and again. The Creo cares. With the implementation of our rigs, we've made you stronger, faster, tougher. So welcome to your new life as part of the Creo family.
Doc Pone versus Pavel.
Played LVGE, got crushed. I played bad, like it feels like I've misplayed a bit.
I'm playing against Doc Pound. To say if it's good for me or not, I need to analyze his deck a little bit more.
I was telling people that they would ask me because I was in his group, and people would tell me, oh, are you afraid of Pavel, or do you want to play against him?
I think that a lot of players get extra pressure just because they know that they're playing against a world champion.
Having a chance to beat the reigning world champion is something exciting. Then if I beat the world champion, then it feels good.
Doc Pone versus Pavel. Ready, set, go!
We are ready to get into match 3 of day 3 here. It's going to be Dokpone versus Pavel. Newcomer versus pretty much swiftly becoming the old guard of Hearthstone now. He's been playing so many tournaments, so many victories, and obviously the current world champion. What do you make of these two players and these two players' lineups?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to evaluate this one. Pavel has played just fine, really. Nothing spectacular come out from him. He's just, powering through as best he can. The lineups here, no great surprise. No real, ace in the hole decks between the two of them, and Pirate Warrior banned out on both sides, so pretty standard stuff. Dokpone, though, is the more interesting case, perhaps, in this spot, because he is the player that's admitting